So here's 5 running backs going into week 10 that I'm going to go out there and get. And the first guy I'm trying to get on waivers is Duke Johnson of the Houston Texans. Yes, Duke Johnson, he'll be relevant again because David Johnson, he went down with a concussion. It might be only a 1 week thing or whatever. But still, Duke Johnson, he looked good in his role coming in. He had 16 carries for 41 yards and a touchdown and 4 catches on 4 targets for 32 yards, but he did have a fumble loss. But this Texan team, they're going to be down in a lot of games or just throwing the whole games. And Duke Johnson, if he's going to start for a week or two, he's worth the pickup. He had a good game, 15.5 fantasy points in PPR leagues. He's out there in, 85% of leagues, so that won't be a problem to get him. And he's not a bad option for a flex or number 2 running back, or if you're in a deep league and you got no other choice. At Duke Johnson, I would go out there and get him. The second guy is J.D. Mckissick of the Washington football team. And this guy, every week you think he's going to go away or he's not going to produce. But once again, this week he produced and he had 12 touches in this game. And he finished with 17 fantasy points in PPR. And he's coming off a whopping 14 targets for 9 catches, 65 yards. And he had 3 rushes and 17 yards. He's not going to run the ball much. But now Alex Smith in there at quarterback. Kyle Allen out for the year with the fractured and dislocated ankle. Alex Smith is the check down king. And it was great for McKinnon, who, like I said, finished with 17 points. He's available in a bunch of leagues. 75% of fantasy leagues, McKinnon's available out there. And when they're trailing Washington, which there will be a lot this season, McKinnon, he's going to be down there on third down. And also, if they're down in general, it's weird. Gibson was a receiver in college, but all the passing down work and third down work pretty much is going to McKissick. So go out there and get him. In a PPR league, he's very valuable, and he's putting up numbers, and he's getting the job done, is McKinnon. And he pretty much almost out-touched Antonio. He did out-touch him 12-9 in this one with catches and carries. And now he's got a good matchup versus Detroit next week's McKissick, who gives up the second most fantasy points to running backs. So go out there and get him. The third running back's Wayne Gorman of the New York Giants. I mentioned him in the waiver wire video last week, and I'm going to mention him again. He looks strong. He looked good. 14 carries, 68 yards, and a TD stomper from the 3-yard line, but only 2 targets with a catch for 9 yards. So Gorman, he looks like a better back than Devonta Freeman. I know the Giants brought him in when Barkley went down, but if the Giants want to be competitive and win games, I don't think they should take Gorman out of the offense. And now in his last 2 fantasy weeks, 13 fantasy points and 14 today. And now he's got a pretty decent matchup versus Philly, who we had 16 against in relief duty of Freeman in week 7. So Wayne Gorman, he's not a bad option. I started him in one and picked him up in one also. And he's also another guy available in 75% of leagues. So Wayne Gorman, if he's out there, go and get him. The next guy's a pair of Charger running backs. Justin Jackson left the game early when we expected a huge game from him. But he had a horrible knee injury, and it happened right away out of the gate for Jackson. So he was out, and Kelly, he got the work back there, but it was Kalen Barrage, the former Miami Dolphin high draft pick. And off the practice squad, Barrage, 69 rushing yards and a touchdown, and he also had 2 catches for 15 yards. So Barrage, a guy who wasn't on the active roster until today, this guy comes up and he out-touches Kelly in this one, and he was the running back for the Chargers. He looked good. He had 15 touches. He got a touch. He caught a couple balls out of the backfield. Once again, Kelly, he didn't look like he was going, but Kelly's out there in a bunch of leagues also. But it looks like Barrage is going to be the man if Jackson's out, and he's a guy I definitely would take a flyer on. Kelly, he had 9 carries for 28 yards and 5 catches for 31, which saved his fantasy day with 10 fantasy points. But that's like his ceiling, I feel like, pretty much for Kelly. He's also out there, Kelly, in 72% of fantasy leagues is Kelly. He's been going down the last few weeks, and I think Barrage, they liked him better out there, that he got all the rushing work, but Kelly surprisingly got more receptions. And the 5th and final running back's Tony Pollard of the Dallas Cowboys. I look to add. The only thing the Cowboys going on by into week 10, but Pollard, he looked like the better running back in this game in limited touches. He had 9 carries for 57 yards, and he had the 1 catch for 1 yard, but he looks quicker than Zeke. He's hitting the holes quicker. He's a better receiver, I think, out of the backfield with Zeke. Maybe Zeke needs the week off. He's had a lot of carries this year. But if he ever went down, I think Pollard is a great addition. And he's available in 65% of leagues. That percentage will probably drop a little, because now he's going to go on bye in week 10. But then after that, he's got a very nice schedule at Minnesota, Washington, but Baltimore tough in week 13. So like I said, he's a good guy to go pick up and take a flyer on. Today he only had 6 points, but it wasn't a bad game. He looked good, and he should earn a few more carries in that Cowboy offense. So that's 5 running backs I'm looking to target on the waiver wire heading into week 10.